into a police van, hands cuffed behind his back and taken for a wild ride.
These are the claims of a former Philadelphia man who's about to get a big check from the city, and tonight Fox 29 is investigating. Investigative reporter Jeff Cole is here looking into allegations he was the victim of a police nickel ride, Jeff?
Yeah, that's what they call it. James McKenna is a burly Irishman who came to the U.S. to play a brutal sport called Gaelic football. He says he's accustomed to the rough and tumble, but not at the hands of police.
So when I got to the threshold of the door, I got here, I felt an arm going around my neck.
James McKenna says June 23rd, 2011, around midnight, is seared in his memory.
I was being choked out, couldn't breathe, and pretty shocking.
But that was just the start of what this native of Northern Ireland says was a nightmare of physical abuse at the hands of Philadelphia police, which landed him under a surgeon's knife.
Because of this, I've got like steel in the front of my neck, steel in the back, 9 screws, and 3 vertebrae from some other dead guy.
McKenna's case is shocking, not just because of the alleged police abuse, but because of the $500,000 taxpayers will have to shell out in the settlement of a lawsuit against the city of Philadelphia and 3 police officers. A lawsuit alleging that McKenna was taken on a police nickel ride. More on what a nickel ride is in a moment. But first, it all starts when McKenna says he was having a drink at this city pub when he saw a woman who was the friend of a gal he once dated. He claims he asked the bartender to send over a round of drinks. It was a friendly gesture?
Yeah.
And they rebuffed it?
Yeah.
According to court documents, McKenna, 37, was approached by an off-duty Philadelphia police officer, Jesse O'Shea, who showed him his badge and demanded McKenna get out of the bar. McKenna says he headed for the door, and O'Shea grabbed him. You're at the threshold of the door. You feel an arm around your neck. You're being choked out. Who's choking you out?
The off-duty cop.
The cop who showed you his badge?
Yes.
Why?
Your guess is as good as mine.
Contacted by phone, Officer O'Shea, a 13-year veteran of the force, was stunned to learn the city would pay McKenna $500,000. He refused comment. In an interview with the Philadelphia Inquirer last year, which first reported the story, O'Shea said he was forced to arrest McKenna after he punched a bartender and was highly intoxicated and aggressive. McKenna denies it. He was charged with simple assault but found not guilty. After being wrestled to the ground outside the pub, McKenna's hands were cuffed behind his back and he was put in a police van. He claims he heard Officer O'Shea say something to the 2 cops up front. You absolutely remember hearing the officer say, F him up.
Yeah, of course. He wasn't saying it to me. He was saying it to the people that was going to be driving the vehicle. And
on the phone with Fox 29 Investigates, O'Shea did deny saying that. This is where the so-called nickel ride comes in. Named after a time when amusement rides cost a nickel, McKenna claims he was thrown about the police van while taken on a 20-minute ride of high speeds, quick stops, wide and sharp turns. He says he remembers the very moment he broke his neck.
We must have been going like 40, 50 miles an hour, and then the brakes were slammed on. And I went sliding up the vehicle, and my head hit the partition.
Eventually taken to the hospital, medical records show differing reports by police about what had happened to him. One document says he struck his head against a jail cell. Another says he hit his head on a police car door, while yet another reveals while being transported, patient hit his own head against a divider.
First and foremost, I'm appalled.
Thomas Gibbons is McKenna's attorney.
I mean, here's a man in Philadelphia who is arrested for simple assault of an off-duty police officer, and an hour later, he has a broken neck with 3 shattered vertebrae, and he's handcuffed to a hospital bed for 6 days.
This letter from the city confirms the startling $490,000 city taxpayers will have to pay James McKenna. On the phone, top city lawyer Craig Straw said Philadelphia had to weigh risk versus reward when it agreed to pay McKenna $500,000.
In my mind,
McKenna says he's taking his money and leaving the city of brotherly love for good. with this message to police.
Please don't hurt the public like that again. Fine. You know, yes, if someone's done wrong, you deserve, you know, your punishment, but not a broken neck.
Now, there is no insurance company to cut McKenna a check. Payment will come right out of city coffers, tax money. The police department says the big settlement has not prompted an investigation of the officer's actions, but documents now dug up in the legal case will in fact be reviewed.
I mean, astounding, Jeff. So we understand now that you have been told police are now going to take a look at the restraints in its vans?
Yeah, well, today they said something interesting. They said there's some belief that maybe this was an equipment failure. Well, if it was an equipment failure, then it's one that happened some 3 years ago, so there would have been a long period of time where maybe there was a problem with the equipment. But what they're going to do now, apparently, is look at the newer vans they have, which they don't think the restraints are adequate, and likely retrofit them. So somehow you've got these guys locked in, safer for the cops and clearly safer for the accused as well.
All right.
Wow.
Thank you, Jeff.
Hey, guys.